Well, thank you all for tuning in. I'm Dr. Becky Lynn, and I run the Evora Center for Menopause and Sexual Health. I'm a gynecologist, and we are here at St. Luke's in Chesterfield in Missouri to talk about our new weight management program. I should really call it a weight loss program. So basically, I found in my practice that many menopausal women have a lot of trouble losing weight. And there's a variety of reasons why they have trouble losing weight. So I'm here tonight with Katie Heaney, who's a registered dietitian, who's going to give her input about nutrition management during menopause, and also Rachael Lewis, who's a certified personal trainer, who will give her input about the role of personal training, the role of exercise in managing your weight and your percent body fat at midlife. So thanks for tuning in. So I think I'll start a little bit with what happens around the time of, well, actually, do you guys want to introduce yourself real quick? I don't want to steal the show. Go ahead, Rachel. You say a little bit about yourself.
I'm Rachael Lewis. I went to Texas A&M and have a Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology, so study of muscle movement, and I am an ACSM certified personal trainer. I own a healthy cooking company called Perfect Fit. And yeah, my passion is just helping people live a healthy lifestyle through fitness and nutrition.
Fantastic. You want to say something?
Sure, I'm Katie Heaney. I'm a registered dietitian. I went to St. Louis University for my undergrad and got a Bachelor of Science in Nutrition and Dietetics and did my internship, dietetic internship at Yale New Haven Hospital. And I've been working with Dr. Lynn here for a while, and we help Becky, and we help people achieve their goals in health, and whether that's weight loss, weight management, building muscle. My goal is to help people bring all the different, work with this team to bring everything together, from exercise to nutrition to sleep to stress, bring it all together and figure out a plan that can help people live a healthy lifestyle.
And I'm so fortunate to have you guys both on my team. Like, this is wonderful because weight loss doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's diet, it's exercise, it's lifestyle, it's sleep. Just like you said, there's so many things that play a role. So thank you so much for being part of it. I love it. All right, well, let me just talk a little bit about some of the things that happen at menopause that make weight loss so difficult. So the true definition of menopause is when you go for a whole year without a period. But basically, it's when your ovaries aren't making estrogen anymore. You have very little estrogen around. And in fact, your estrogen levels start to decline. Even in your 40s, you're making less estrogen than your 30s. And that's why women in their 40s can have menopausal symptoms like hot flashes, night sweats, weight gain, vaginal dryness, things like that. But as your estrogen levels go down, you become more insulin resistant. So what that means is that insulin is the hormone that helps bring glucose into the cells. And when you have a lot of insulin in your blood, it also tells your body to deposit fat. And nobody really wants that extra fat. But when you become insulin resistant, your body, it comes from your pancreas has to put out a lot more insulin than it used to get the glucose into the cells. And pumping out all that extra insulin makes you more likely to pack on the pounds. The other thing that happens is as your estrogen goes down, your testosterone level is also going down. And testosterone helps build and maintain muscle mass. And so testosterone actually starts going down in your late 20s, early 30s. By the time you reach that, 40s, 50-year-old time, you're more fat than you are muscle. And muscle, so muscle burns more calories at rest than fat. So if you're somebody who weighs like 170 and you have a higher percent body fat than someone who weighs 170 who's mostly muscle, then the person who's more fat will have a slower resting metabolic rate. And the metabolism is slower. So they will not, if they might try eating what they ate when they were 25, whereas, what they ate when they were 25, they might lose weight. Whereas now, they might gain weight. So one of the things in my practice here at Evora is so many women are just kind of stuck, gaining weight. So Okay, so now I'm going to turn it over to you guys to see if you want to add anything from your realm on how menopause, plays a role in the personal training and nutrition. So, Rachel,
I'll go first. So basically, Dr. Becky touched on a lot of points. As we age, we do start to lose testosterone, and after our 30s, I believe, we lose about 10% of our muscle per decade, and that's a lot. So that's where I come in with the strength training side of it, and why strength training, resistance training is so important as we age, especially as females, because we lose at a faster rate than males do. So when strength training comes in, your rate's actually slowing down. You're slowing down that rate of losing muscle. You're keeping your resting metabolic rate higher than it would be if you weren't doing resistance training. And like she said, basically as we age, if we don't use it, we lose it. And that's true. I like to tell people, if you think of your muscle as like, this is kind of a gross picture, but as like a marbleized steak, that's kind of what we don't want. So what happens is the fat in the steak that you see is what happens to our muscles. As we start to age, we start to get fat deposits. So I think that's a really great picture, or not so great picture, for you to see the importance of strength training. And I'm trying to think of what other topics.
I would sign up with you when you give me that image of the steak with the fat in the middle.
I know, that's a good one. That's a good one.
I'm sure I've got some of that in my blood here. So. All right, what about Katie?
So while you were talking, I was thinking about, when people come to our practice with something what's like some things we hear a lot of. And many times when clients come to us, they want to lose weight, they want to be healthier. So one of the first things I do is we talk about what they're eating now, what their habits are, and a pattern that I see with this population is that they are not eating enough. So if you think of your body, your body needs fuel, just like a car needs fuel to run, and our fuel is calories. Well, over the years, there's always different, food and diet trends, and many people that come to us, and just people in general, have been taught for some reason that carbohydrates are bad for you, low carb, keto, and I'm not here to say there's lots of good and bad things about different fad diets, and I'm not going to necessarily bash any of them, but low carb, carbohydrates, a lot of people don't realize people need anywhere from 35 to 65% of their daily calories from carbohydrates. And when I help my clients, when I tell my clients that, they're like, what? That's so many carbohydrates. But what we have to kind of look at is, what is a carbohydrate? So carbohydrates come from a lot of different places. Of course, the places that you think of first are what? Breads, pasta, rice, those types of things. But carbohydrates also come from low-fat dairy, fruits, whole grain plant sources such as squash, corn, potatoes, those types of things. So one of the things that I've had a lot of my clients say when they, have their plan when they leave meeting with me is, I can't believe I can eat this much, but they're eating more of the foods that give them energy and fuel and nutrients, and less of the foods that might not give them a lot of bang for their buck, if you will. So that's kind of one thing I help people do, is not just, cut calories, is here's, let's come up with a plan that actually fuels your body so that you can do the things that you want to do. You can be active, you can be alert at work, you can sleep well, you can, many people that come to us, I don't know if you've seen this, is they've kind of given a lot of themselves over the years to different things, their job, their kids, their, life, and they haven't necessarily put fueling themselves first. So that's one thing we just talk about. What can we do to help you fuel? And also portion size is a big thing. Is, it's not necessarily that carbohydrates are bad, or, I don't know, ice cream is bad, but it's what is a healthy portion of that? How does it fit into your overall calorie level for the day? So we don't necessarily do, 100% calorie counting, but we do educate someone on what's their resting metabolic rate, how active are they, what's the amount of calories they need, and then what would that look like in a, plan that fits kind of with their lifestyle. So that's what I've seen, is a lot of people are kind of not eating enough, and that can put stress on your body. Your body can kind of be in starvation mode. So how can you fuel yourself so that you are living the lifestyle that you want, that's healthy?
Yeah, I see that with my menopausal patients. they've been restricting so much and they just can't lose weight. And like you said, there's just not enough calories there. So I think many people are like, what? You want me to eat more, or I need to eat a little bit of carbs? Like they're like, that's not going to work. But honestly, we've had skeptical patients, and then they come back and they're like, I feel so much better, and yes, it's working, and I'm losing weight. And it just, you have to look at the physiology of the thing. So yeah, that's wonderful. And I think also where I come in is, we have our weight management program, personal training, nutrition. We do measure your resting metabolic rate, we do a body composition scale so we can figure out how much % body fat you are, how much % muscle you are. And then if you need medicines, we do that here. That's under my realm. Or if we need to look at your hormonal balance, what's your estrogen doing, what's your testosterone doing, then that's something that I do. And then we also screen for any unusual reasons, or not even so unusual, any common reasons that people would be. So we definitely check your thyroid. We want to make sure that it's not low, because low thyroid can make you gain weight. And then we typically look for diabetes or even insulin resistance, or just what your glucose level is. So typically when you first see me, I get a panel of lab work that can sort of guide us, in what is the best way for you to lose weight, and is there anything else medically contributing to the fact that you haven't been able to lose weight. So that's what we do. Questions? We'll look for any questions.
Yeah. So what is included in this weight management program that we started in Evora?
Yeah. So this is a fantastic package, and there's a lot of savings in this if you do it as a package. We have a 3-month Kickstart weight loss program, and that includes 5 visits with me. So it's guided weight loss. We kind of reevaluate every couple weeks and see where you're at, see if we need to adjust anything. The first visit is typically an hour where we talk about everything and we go through the labs that I'm going to do. All of the lab work is covered by insurance. And then it includes 8 personal training sessions with Rachel, which is awesome, because if you do it once, it's probably not going to make a huge difference, but if you do it 8 times, you can really build strength. And then it includes 4 visits with Katie for nutrition counseling, so kind of keeps you accountable. And what I love about that is it's very personalized. Both of you guys, it's very personalized. None of this is a one-size-fits-all. So what I tell my patients is if they don't like what Katie initially set out for them, she'll change it. If it's not working in their lifestyle, they meet with Katie several times and then we can adjust. And same with Rachel. If something's not working, there's room for adjustment. You also get your metabolism measured. We have a fantastic machine called Breezing Pro, which is the most accurate way to measure your metabolic rate. It's much better than the equations, which are based on assumptions that fit all people. And we know that the metabolism of a 5'4" person like me is not the same as my husband, who's 6'4", whereas those equations just make the same assumptions. So we have the Breezing Pro, super easy. It's part of it. You get to do it twice. So you do it in the beginning and you do it at the end to see how your metabolism has changed. Because weight loss can slow your metabolism, but personal training can speed up your metabolism. So you get that. We also do the body composition scale, which I mentioned earlier, just to kind of look at your % body fat, % body muscle, and you can watch it change as you lose weight. You're like, oh yeah, you want to get on the body comp scale and see that those numbers, the fat numbers going down and the muscle numbers going up. So, and the other issue about the weight loss program is that it holds you accountable. So how many times have you said, I'm going on a diet tomorrow? And then you're like, I'm going to do it. And then you don't, because you get busy and you fall into your old patterns, or you don't have time to go to the gym. So in this program, you commit. So if you decide you're going to do it and you sign up for it, then you have to do it. So it really holds you accountable. And when you're accountable, it really improves the chances that you're going to be successful. And then what you learn with the nutrition, the personal training, you can use those skills for a lifetime of healthy weight management. So that's it.
And then, Katie, what should a patient see or expect the first visit with you?
So usually the first visit is about 90 minutes. And what we're doing on the first visit is the first thing we talk about is what are your goals. Some people come in, it's just, I want to lose this much weight by this time. But many times it's, I want to learn to eat healthier so that I can help my family eat healthier. Or, I see that my child's getting a little more picky when I realize he or she's picking that up for me. How do I eat healthier so I can provide an example for my family? So we start off with goals. And then I ask a lot of questions about someone's weight history. Because what I've found is sometimes we don't have to reinvent the wheel. If someone comes in, and I just had someone the other day that, has had success in the past on a certain weight loss plan. And so we talked about that, how long did you follow that? What was helpful about it? What was challenging about it? What were the results? How did you feel? And so I can kind of understand what worked about that, what might work to kind of carry over to this time. So talk about their weight history, medications, lab work. So get kind of an idea of what the starting picture is. And then I'll ask someone, what do they typically eat throughout the day? Like, what's a typical day look like? And usually, you guys can probably relate that weekends are usually a little different. So we'll try to get a weekday and then a weekend. And then talk about lifestyle factors. How often do you eat out? Who does the cooking? Who does the grocery shopping? A big thing I was thinking when Becky was talking is we talk a lot about hunger, because what I found is that a lot of us know what to eat. We know how to eat healthy. We know what we should be eating. But what happens when we get really hungry? Our blood sugar gets low. We're in a rush. We don't have healthy food right there. We don't make the best choices. And sometimes those are the things that can affect, what we're eating. So get an idea of some of those habits. And then once we do that, we calculate what their resting metabolic rate is, either through the breathing, or we use the Mifflin-St. Jeor equation, which is an algorithm based on your height, weight, age, gender, and activity level. And then once we get that, we can figure out, I help people calculate how much of that should come from carbs, should come from protein, and should come from fat, the 3 macronutrients. And then the biggest probably benefit, or the most positive feedback I get from clients is we have a list of kind of really simple, easy breakfast, lunches, and dinners that just show, these are the 5 food groups. Here's how you get the correct portion that fits with your meal plan in there. So really, people leave with the tools that they need to plan their meals, plan their week, and plan for a healthy lifestyle. And then usually what we wrap up with is what goals do you want to focus on? We do a lot of the SMART goals, so specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So if someone says, I'm going to exercise more, I would say, and I don't know if Rachel does this too in her practice, but I would probably say, okay, what does exercising more look like to you? Do you want to add one 60-minute session per week at the gym? Do you want to walk 10 more minutes per day? Do you want to add on 15 minutes to your hour-long workout where you get your heart rate up? I really try to get specific on people's goals so that at the next visit I can say, okay, this was your goal. What did you do? Did you accomplish it? If someone says, I want to drink more water, that's a big thing. People aren't necessarily hydrating enough to give them energy and to give them the water that they need. So instead of, I would like to drink more water, okay, how many more glasses do you want to drink? And if it's 1 per day, at the next visit, I'll say, okay, how many more glasses per water did you drink per day? So then at the next visit, we can kind of review their goals. Usually there's something that was challenging, or maybe they went on a trip and they weren't sure how to eat healthy. They want to talk about that. So every visit is really customized to the person's goals, and how they're progressing towards those.
And then, Rachel, what does the first visit look like for you typically? So the first visit for me, kind of going off Katie's, it's very similar. I'll do an initial health questionnaire just to see what's going on, what happened in the past, especially with injuries. Are there any injuries that we need to work with? Even injuries that a person might have gone through PT and think they're cleared of. Usually they still show up in our session, so I always like to be aware. And then in the health questionnaire, we also go over eating, because that plays a big role. Everything kind of goes together. So what does a day of eating look like? What does the week of eating look like? And also, how many days a week are you working out currently? What's your goal? How many days a week do you want to work out? Weight loss goals. So we'll go over basically a full health history. And then in the first session, we usually start with a posture assessment and a movement assessment. So seeing how you move through a squat, how you move through each of the moves, a lunge, just making sure anatomically everything is functioning how it should in a movement. Because I think a lot of people don't realize, and I get this a lot with the moms that I train, from picking up babies all day, bending over a crib, the hinge at the hips, using our glutes, our posterior chain, we have no clue how to use majority of people today. And you'll notice that through breaking leaves and you get a back injury, bending down to pick up something. So starting with the simple moves and then progressing up from there and eventually adding resistance and weights to that. But also I like to listen to my clients and see, okay, what are your goals? Because I know my goal for a menopausal woman would be, okay, I want to put some muscle on you. But maybe she's a little shy about putting on some muscle and she wants to focus more on cardiovascular fitness. So I think listening to my clients, which is a huge thing, and kind of putting both of our goals for that client together into a way that they're going to love their workouts and they're going to be consistent with them. And also just kind of finding a plan as we start working together of what you can be consistent with. So I work with busy professionals, CEOs of companies, and I work with moms that have 3 kids they're shuffling around. So not everyone is going to be able to do the same exact workout program, and I think that's where it gets frustrating today is you find something online and it looks great and you try to do it consistently, but it's just not meant for you and you can't keep up with it. So working with each client individually and figuring out, okay, you have a gym in your office, maybe we're doing lunchtime workouts. Okay, you have your one kid at between noon and 1. Maybe you take that baby on a walk and that's your workout. So I think really we get overwhelmed today thinking, oh, a workout has to be in a gym and it has to be using weights or it has to be on a bike or a treadmill. And that's just not true. A workout is movement, and as long as you are increasing your physical activity, increasing your movement throughout the day, you're going to see results. So that's a big thing I like to hone in on with my clients. Don't make it complicated.
I like that because our lives are already complicated.
Yeah.
So we don't need to make it any more complicated. So one thing about like working out that I wanted to add that you made me think of, and for nutrition, is we offer telehealth. So telenutrition and telepersonal training. So if you're a busy mom or you can't get away from work or you can't get out of the house, still see Katie, you can still see Rachel and do it via telehealth. Or they both come here to the office also, so it's sort of like one-stop shopping. You only have one place to go, you don't have to drive here to the gym or here to see the dietitian. You know, we offer everything right here, so you can just do it all in one fell swoop because we're all so busy. And it's good too, like in the time of COVID, you're going to be running all over and everywhere. And that's another benefit of the telemedicine as well.
Read my mind on the next question. So then, Katie, how much should a patient weigh?
How much should a patient weigh?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong answer to that. So you should find your perfect weight that supports your lifestyle. If you, so there's all kinds of equations like ideal body weight and BMI and all those things, and those are kind of helpful. I mean, they're helpful to know, but every person needs to find what is I ask this to my clients, and everyone has their perfect weight, and their answer is usually a little more complicated. It'll be, when I was 30, it was, this, and then when in my 40s, this, and now I know that this one isn't so realistic, but I know if I weighed, someone said this today, if I weighed 145, maybe that wouldn't be the healthiest, the ideal BMI, but 145 would make me feel good about myself. My clothes would fit great. I would, that would mean I was being active. Like I would feel, like I was eating enough, but not too much. So I try to help people like find their perfect weight that's going to support that. And then there's a really cool, I went to, I got my certificate of training in weight management and obesity interventions last April. And there was a really cool body weight calculator that I use with my clients. And it's the national, I have to look it up, but it's like NIH something. But we plug in all these numbers of this is the weight that I'm at, this is how much I want to increase my exercise by, the percentage, this is the date that I want to get down to this weight. And I can type those in and tell someone, okay, that's actually not realistic in the time frame that you want, or this is realistic, but this is how much less you'd have to eat, this is how much more you'd have to exercise. So it's kind of figuring out what is your ideal weight, and then why is that their answer? And is there something that maybe a lot of times for my clients, it's more benchmarks, like, okay, you want to lose 100 pounds, but, you know, can we start with losing 10 pounds by 3 months from now? I never with a client really encourage them to lose more than half a pound to a pound a week, because that would be, a lot of times that's weight loss that might not be as sustainable. So we try to come up with what's your long-term plan, but then what are some benchmarks that we can kind of get to. Does that answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you mentioned BMI. So all of you guys stuff like, why is BMI not necessarily good for kids?
I do know. So BMI, you know, basically it's based on how much you weigh and how tall you are. So if you're mostly muscle is heavy, and so you might have a higher BMI, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're more unhealthy. You might be more muscular. So a BMI is good, but one thing that we found here with our body comp scale is that people's BMI might seem okay or maybe just overweight, but then their percent body fat is pretty high. So it's not, you know, we use it because it's easy, it's simple, it's height and weight. That's it. And we know the ranges, we know what we consider healthy, but it's not, it's the same as weight loss. It's not one size fits all. So it doesn't really fit perfectly, and it can be skewed.
To give you an idea, BMI would say that I was overweight. So
Yeah.
that's what I tell my clients. You can't go off BMI.
And then, Rachel, what are some benefits of strength training?
So there's so many benefits of strength training. I love this question. We already talked about one, increased resting metabolic rate. And what goes with that too is the more muscle you have, your muscle determines how many carbs you can eat, because glucose is stored in our muscle. So the more muscle you have, the more carbs you can consume. As well as increased muscle prevents injuries. So as we age, we're more likely, like I said, raking leaves, pulling the back, picking up a child, stuff like that. It just really helps with that and preventing injuries that could be a long-term injury you have to deal with, as well as increased bone density. So as we age, not only do we lose muscle mass, but we also lose bone density. And to offset that loss, that percentage that we lose, you want to make sure you're really putting your muscles under stress. So making sure you're challenging them with resistance training, or it can be another activity that is just putting stress. So it can be running, walking uphill, stuff like that. Resistance training also improves mood. I don't think a lot of people realize that your muscle is the largest endocrine organ. It actually is an endocrine organ, and it influences your hormones, and that's a huge part of having more muscle and working out and improving mood. I'm probably forgetting a ton of them, but I'll just stop there.
So I want to add one thing about moods. I always recommend exercise, and not just strength training, but also cardiovascular exercise or aerobic exercise where you get your heart rate up, because your body naturally releases all those antidepressants that we give you in pills and things. Your body makes those neurotransmitters in your brain on its own. So if you're depressed or you're anxious or you're stressed, exercise is one of the greatest things that you can do as a mood stabilizer. I recommend it for those things, but also for premenstrual syndrome or premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and that's just the benefits for your mood. Think about the benefits for your heart, the benefits to prevent diabetes, coronary artery disease, strokes. I mean, there's so many reasons to exercise. Women who exercise have a decreased risk for breast cancer, and breast cancer survivors who exercise have a decreased risk of recurrence. So there's just so many benefits, and the longer I practice medicine, I just learn about more benefits. It helps prevent cognitive decline. So people who exercise are less likely to develop dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. There's just so many reasons to exercise.
And then, Dr. Lynn, how does somebody, or how do you determine who gets what weight loss medicines?
So it definitely depends on what their past medical history is and what's contributing. So a couple of ones that I use are like phentermine, Saxenda, Qsymia. So phentermine is good for somebody who needs like a metabolism boost, that their metabolism is slow. But you can't give phentermine to somebody who's got a history of heart disease or high blood pressure or tachycardia where their heart beat's really high. So you have to look at what chronic medical conditions they have. You look at Saxenda, it's also called liraglutide. I don't have any relationship with any of the companies, but so this is very similar to some of the diabetes drugs that we have. So if we think that one of your main components of weight loss is insulin resistance, then maybe we'll choose Saxenda. There's another one called Contrave, which is a combination of Wellbutrin and naloxone, and that one's really good for people who have really strong cravings. But you can't give that one to somebody who has a seizure disorder because it lowers the seizure threshold. So you kind of want to look at what is causing their weight gain, what's contributing, and then do they have any contraindications to using certain medicines, and that's how you decide.
And then, again, so what is the biggest misconception about lifting weights? The biggest misconception, especially in females, is that they are going to look like The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, or Arnold Schwarzenegger, because we just see these pictures of females lifting weights and looking very masculine. So I try to teach my clients that that's not accurate. Most of them are on drugs. Actually, all of them on those pictures are on drugs to make them look that way. That's not natural. The female body only has so much testosterone, and we can only put on so much muscle. There is a max, and so I like to kind of demonstrate with my clients that question this and tell them I lift as heavy as possible when I lift, and I basically look the same as I did last month. I'm not a huge bodybuilding person, so that's just it's not physically possible to be that masculine looking without using drugs. And then Katie, why do you recommend seeing a nutritionist instead of just doing a fat diet?
So why do I recommend someone see a nutritionist rather than a fat diet? Fat diets are
The dietitian.
Yeah, our dietitian. Actually now we're registered dietitian nutritionist, so it used to be RD, now it's So fad diets. So fad diets are exactly how they sound, fad diets, and they're basically, one size fits all. Do this. What a dietitian can do is figure out what works for you might not work for somebody else. And some fad diets can be very restrictive. So in the past few years, it used to be we would see a lot of people coming in following Atkins diet, and now it's keto diet. Those things restrict a very important nutrient, and so any sort of fad diet that kind of restricts a nutrient or something that gives someone fuel, that raises a red flag to me. So a dietitian can help someone hit their goals through a healthy eating habits. It's something that's personalized to them. But fad diets are, you follow them for a little while and then something else takes its place, so they're fads. A dietitian has all the research on nutrition. Science is a relatively new science, but we have the research that science shows right now what helps people, lose weight and what they need. Fad diets, sometimes I really, when people email me about different fad diets, we check the research on it, and some of the research is pretty questionable. So we want to make sure it's got, randomized controlled trial studies that have shown long-term benefits to the plan, to the diet, or to the eating plan.
So one other thing about that too is sometimes fad diets are very, like you said, restrictive. You can't eat any of this, and realistically, can you do that forever? You can't do that forever. So in my opinion, it's better to find a way of eating that is sustainable, that you can do forever. Otherwise, you don't learn the healthy habits to maintain your weight.
Yeah. And that's people's relationship with food is really important, because we have been taught, black and white, good or bad, and people come to me thinking this food is bad or this food is good. And I try to teach there's no good or bad foods. It's everything in moderation, including moderation. So I'm not going to tell you to not eat something or to eat, all this. It's going to be, here's the healthy portion size of this particular food, and here's how to fit it into a healthy eating plan.
So if you are trying to help a mother lose weight, but the rest of her family doesn't follow the same diet, the same exercise plan, the same living, how do each of you address that?
Okay, I know first. So a busy mother that wants to follow a certain eating plan, but her family's not quite on board.
Yes.
Well, I try to work with them on what is in your control. So, every family has the challenge of people want to eat differently. Like if I cook something that I love, I guarantee you my husband's not going to be his favorite, and it's probably not going to be my kid's favorite. So what I try to talk to them about is, okay, what is a meal that we can put together that has some of your favorites, some of your kids' favorites, some of your husband's favorites, or wife, or whatever it is, household. But what is in their control? So someone whose family, might not be eating the same as them, well, how many meals a week are they eating with them? What can you do? What is in your control? Maybe you have meals, maybe you're working and 2 of your meals are at work and you have control over those 2 meals. There's a lot you can do in conjunction with your family, and also just, talking to your family about what their goals are and how it benefits them. So sometimes getting them tied in, okay, if someone wants to follow an eating plan but their partner or kids are like, I don't want to do that, well, what are the benefits to them? If I can be successful with my goals, I'll have more energy for this. We'll be able to do more of this. Do you like it when I'm crabby, when I'm not sleeping? Well, I might sleep better, so I'll, be more able to kind of give, more time to you or whatever. So it's figuring out what they have control over and how they can create a win-win situation for everybody. There's certainly meals you can put out that, somebody might not eat this, but they'll eat this. And that's one thing we talk about is meal planning.
Yeah. So I would say, not from the doctor view, but more as the mom view, I've always felt like it was really important to set a good example. Like I can tell you, I put vegetables out, and like here's the prime example in my house. I love Brussels sprouts. Nobody else loves Brussels sprouts, and we try and make our kids eat vegetables, but my husband sits down and he tells my kids first off, he goes, you don't have to eat those. But we do try and eat healthy. We eat a lot of fish, because oily fish has omega-3s and so many benefits. We try to eat not fatty foods, but I have a teenage son who loves burgers. But I feel like we try and set an example in our house, always have healthy choices. My kids may not choose them. They choose their gummy bears. But at least they see how me and my husband are eating and what healthy eating looks like. So I guess it's not perfect, but I try and set a good example.
No such thing as perfect.
I know, there is no such.
And I think with exercise, the same goes with what Dr. Becky and what Katie said. You want to be an example to your family, and I think that's really important for our kids in this generation, because we know the rates of obesity in our children and malnutrition in America are just steadily increasing, and parents need to be that example for our children. So if your kid doesn't like exercise as it's defined, maybe they like going to the park, and maybe you like taking them on walks and they like going on walks. So with families, and especially moms, I try to find things that they can do with their kids. So while their kid's at a soccer game, you might tell the mom, well, how about you take laps around the field? Just trying to work it in to where you're watching your kid play sports, but you're also getting your health and fitness taken care of. And also, I think spouses do play a big role. If you do have a spouse, and it's really important to be on the same page and to talk. And I know with my husband, sometimes he gets frustrated when I walk out the door. I'm like, I need to go work out. And he's like, but this is the only hour we get together. And so we like to work out together. And I know that's not everyone's thing. But I tell him, like, look, I need to do this for myself and to be a good mom for my kid and to be a good wife. I need to put this first. And he's gradually, I won't say he fully understands it every time, but he does understand that that is something that I have to do for myself. So I think it's really important to have that conversation with your family.
I totally agree. My husband, so I've been married probably a lot longer than you have. He gets it now. Like in the beginning of the relationship, he's like, why do you have to go running? I'm like, what? I have to go running. Now, after many years, he's like, yeah, you better run. We'll get my circles.
All right, you hear that, Jason?
And then Katie, you mentioned something so important, sleep.
Yeah.
So how does sleep, and whoever can answer it, affect weight loss, weight gain, menopause, all of it?
You take that.
The hormone doctor.
So, not only is your insulin having to work harder when you go through menopause, your sleep tends to be disrupted. And it can be disrupted by night sweats, but it can be disrupted even if you don't have night sweats. And when you don't get enough sleep, you crave carbohydrates like chocolate chip cookies and cake and like all those not so great carbohydrates. And, you know, it's funny because in my life, I find that so true. I don't deliver babies anymore, but I used to work overnight delivering babies on labor and delivery. And I will tell you, I get up in the middle of the night to deliver a baby, and then I go over to the nursing station because all I wanted was chocolate and cookies. Like, I just craved carbs when my sleep was it was pretty disrupted. So yeah, menopause, like not only just the insulin resistance, but those night sweats and that lack of sleep really can just worsen a trend to already gain weight.
Rachel, how can exercising help sleep?
Exercising helps with sleep in so many ways. I mean, it just, you're getting out all your stress, and stress is usually one of those things that keeps us up at night, and I'm sure you have the specific hormones that you can say that would help with that, but releasing endorphins and just letting your body relax afterwards, getting the energy out.
And I think it makes you tired too. Like if you work out and you're busy all day. Now for people who have sleep problems, we don't want them to work out right before they go to bed. But when you work out during the day, then you go to bed at night and you're like, oh, I'm tired. And it helps you fall asleep too.
I think I'm all out of questions. Do you guys have anything else you want to add or anything that? No?
I'll just add a few parting words. I'm just so pleased that you guys. I'm just so pleased that you guys are here and that we all work together to really help change women's lives for the better. Especially when it comes to weight gain and weight management, it's really important to feel good about yourself, to be healthy, to sleep well, to eat healthy. So I'm really excited about the program that we offer here. If you're interested, you can give us a call. It sounds like a commercial, but that's okay. Our office number is 314-934-0551. We can tell you all about, which we already did, what we offer here for weight management. And we also I do a free 15-minute consult, and we can talk about all of this good stuff and how we can help you. It's really important. So thank you all for tuning in. And once, if you missed any part of this, then we will post it on my YouTube channel. You can search Dr. Becky Lynn on YouTube for more information about hormones, sexual problems, low libido, anything menopause and sex. You can find on my YouTube channel. So thank you all for joining in.
I actually have one more question. We talked a lot about menopause.
Yes.
But you all can help younger women as well, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So, we can help younger women lose weight because younger women gain weight, like especially postpartum. I know you work a lot with pregnant women, but postpartum is one of those really tough times to lose weight. But throughout the lifespan, it doesn't matter how old you are. If you need help losing weight, we can do that.
And I've done a lot with family nutrition, like the whole family, kids, because I used to work at Children's Hospital and I have my own kids, so I practice there. So just working with the family on how to create healthy living and healthy eating plans for kids, moms, younger people, teenagers.
All right, well, thank you. Have a good night.